Well, if this isn't paradise, I don't know what is. Jardins del Rey, the Gardens of the King, named by Diego Velázquez in honour of King Ferdinand of Spain in 1514. One of 2,500 islands, cays and rocks, literally surrounded by fish. Fish in many parts of Cuba are not as plentiful as they either could or should be. Struggling as they most certainly are under America's trade embargo, the locals have taken most of them, and who could blame them for that? But there are exceptions to this trend, in particular the national parks, where that kind of thing simply is not tolerated. Jardins del Rey is a national park, recently connected to the North Cuban mainland by a 17-mile causeway. You can fish from the roadside, and some very good snappers are to be had where the water is deep enough. But that tends to be for non-Cuban visitors, as police at a checkpoint located on the causeway will turn away any Cuban trying to get across who is not travelling on a bus with a work permit and about to go on shift at one of the hotels. That's a measure of how carefully controlled this particular national park is, and as angling visitors we should feel privileged. But the fishing, and in particular the boat fishing, can still be more than a little frustrating until you get the situation sorted out, as I can testify. The most reliable feature of the people I tried to sort some fishing out with was their total unreliability. To a man, they all let us down in one way or another. Fortunately, by that stage, I had yet to meet up with Mahini Cuerdo, who skippers the offshore boat Marlin 12, though I had tried on a number of occasions to find him. Mahin's name was given to me by a friend before setting out for Cuba as a reliable skipper, both in terms of getting afloat and finding fish. The problem was that I was told to look for him at Cayo Guillermo Marina, when in actual fact he'd switched to Cayo Coco, quite close to my hotel, to a smaller marina tucked away down a dirt track inside the mangrove swamps. Anyway, eventually I did find him and set up a trip, which after a couple of cancellations due to the weather, finally got fished on the day before I was due to go home.
My name is Capitán de Boat, Marlin 12. We're catching today many barracuda, some Wahoo, some dolphin fish, some grouper.
With a backlog of other trips for him to catch up on, that was my only shot, so you must try to get in early enough if you fancy some of the same. The boats here are excellent, with quality tackle and a very impressive lunch. We had pan-fried Dorado, rice with a light chilli sauce, assorted veg and a fresh lobster apiece, all in with the price. The run out from Cayo Coco Marina is along a buoyed channel through the shallow coral reef. En route through the reef, crewman Barbaro set about rigging up the trolling gear. A selection of muppets and cornerhead type lures with long strips of Dorado or barracuda belly wired to a large single hook. Once we'd cleared the really shallow stuff, Mahin hit the throttle heading for the blue water, where we could either fish out deep for Dorado or Wahoo, and perhaps even the sailfish, or stick to the reef edge for barracuda, snappers and grouper. We decided to start offshore, then move in closer after lunch if there were not too many fish out deep. Barbaro quickly set about getting the lures and baits out in a good spread, using the outriggers, cabin top rod holders, stern holders and an improvised flatline. A teaser was also put out amongst them to add a bit of extra zest. As it was her first time trolling, the first fish to pull the line from the outrigger clip went to Dawn. This turned out to be a small Dorado, a spectacular fish to see alive and in the flesh with its bright blue and gold colours, and even more impressive at lunchtime on a plate. Next up was another small Dorado. It seems we'd found a pod of them in one particular area, which we worked for a while before losing interest and moving a little further off. Out in slightly deeper water, I took a hit from a Wahoo.
They bite like a Wahoo.
Yeah, the crew says it bites like a Wahoo, so fingers crossed. Oh, I feel it shaking its head now. As it was January, we were right on the tail end of the main Wahoo run, which goes from November through to Christmas, so this came as a nice little bonus to the Dorado, which tend to be around all year. No signs of a sailfish though, which put in their strongest showing September through to November. In addition to the Wahoo and Dorado, we also picked up a few half-decent barracuda, which had obviously strayed away from the edge of the reef into the deeper water. With half the day already gone, time then to move in closer to see what the reef had to offer. Trawling close to the reef produces mainly smaller barracuda, snappers in the 10 to 15 pound bracket and groupers up to maybe 30 pounds, so it's a nice little bonus card that can be relied upon when the going gets tough out deep. As expected, barracudas dominated the proceedings. We also had a small grouper come up and tackle one of the rapalas, but no big snappers, which is a pity as they go particularly well on the lighter gear and are great to eat. It was while we were running the edge of the reef that Maheen spotted a couple of frigate birds constantly circling one particular patch of blue water, so we decided to motor over and take a look. With the birds watching and waiting for small prey fish driven up by the larger predators, we just kept working the patch expecting something to happen at any moment. Then suddenly it did. We just followed some frigate birds. We saw them in the distance, obviously circling over some food. When we got here, boom, straight away into Dorado. It certainly looks like a big fish. Oh, it's cracking away on the surface over there now. And as luck would have it, well, for us at least, ours turned out to be the only fishable day that week.